what does this look like when I'm thriving at this and everything is working? That's the first step. You can do it with your eyes closed. Everything is working now. You create a weekend retreat, it's filled. You write a book,
Mhm.
people say it changes their life. You do a free masterclass and people are waiting at the door. Whatever you do is super successful. What does it look like? And what are you doing?
Welcome to Biz Help for You, the show that saves you the expensive learning curve by providing advice from industry experts in every facet of the entrepreneurial journey. Too many small businesses collapse. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, 20% fail within their first year, and less than 35% make it to their 10th anniversary. The goal of this podcast is to change that statistic. So if you're interested in learning more to be a successful entrepreneur, tune in today.
Now, let me tell you a little bit about my guest today. Rich Kozak, the voice of impact-driven branding, has dedicated decades to defining the launching of brands. He founded Rich Brands to serve heart-centered entrepreneurs and professionals, helping them elevate their unique gifts to make significant impacts in the world. Rich is known for his deep listening, caring nature, and straightforward, trustworthy guidance. With 48 years of experience, he mentors individuals through the 7 steps of impact-driven branding, providing clarity and actionable steps for building impactful brands. You can learn from Rich Kozak the essential steps to create a brand that resonates with your purpose and makes a significant impact on people's lives and the world. So, Rich, welcome to the show.
It's a delight to be here. And if some of that language was new to you or you think it's fluff, it's not. It is deep experience you can count on. And I only use straight talk. So let's go.
Perfect. Well, I do have questions on the specific topic, but before I get into that, I would love to just ask you, tell us just a little bit of how you began working with others to develop their brands.
Wow. Well, I was an entrepreneur at a young age. I started my first business at 13, and I had several businesses during high school and college, and created names for all of them. So this thing sort of came naturally. With a degree in marketing and international businesses, I ended up working with a high-tech ad agency, and I just skipped over about 20 years. I also played in a rock band, but we won't go there. But I'm sure glad I got that out of my system, just seriously. It was during the Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young era, so it wasn't like blasty rock. I play a violin, and it was wonderful. I also play some fiddle. But so in a couple of decades, I served as an executive vice president with a high-tech ad agency. And what that means is a company has a budget. And today I work only with individuals. So this is not big company stuff where it's not relevant to you. If you're listening to this, you will benefit deeply from this. But this is the background. So our job was to listen to what they needed to do that year, how much money they had to spend, and then come up with the list of things that we knew they absolutely had to do. And then there'll be a line where the money runs out. So we had to get the first things done first. Usually when it's a brand new client, you spend some time talking about the way the brand is perceived, the way that they're perceived by the trade press, the way they're perceived by their target customers. And if there are miscommunications, if there's a misunderstanding or they're perceived one way, but they really think they're another way, you have to fix that before you start spending money advertising and big money. And so you don't want to waste it. So we created speeches for the president. We created programs for the distributors. We did technical PR articles. It's everything, all the executional elements. But first, a branding strategy. And one of the things you'll hear me say is your brand, your marketing, when it's at its best. If you're a solopreneur, even if you're the only person in the room, your marketing at its best, when it's at its best, will be the execution of an excellent branding strategy. So keep that in mind. So after years of doing that, I had partners in 21 countries. I was on global brand teams, and I was doing all-nighters at 50 years old. And I decided to change my prayer and say, Lord, I'm going to resign this addictive career to reshape my life. Show me what you want me to do. I'm ready. Within 3 months, I had resigned. amicably, and my good friend ran the agency, and we were good buddies forever, still are. It didn't take too long for individuals to ask my help, and I told them I don't do that anymore, and they corrected me. So I helped a few individuals, and what came to me is, in using this process of helping an individual like you, if you're listening to this, ask your heart, whom do I really see impacting through my work? And I really want to impact them. Is it a specific kind of industry or specific kind of person, like a single mom with a special needs child, or a couple about to retire, or somebody early in their career that's looking for direction, somebody trying to overcome the weight of something that happened to them as a child, whatever, whomever your target audience is. It's like, when you reach into your heart and ask your heart, whom do I really want to impact? And what do I see the highest level impacts could be through the work that I do or want to do or I'm doing now and I want to do more? You can define the brand you must become to make those impacts. And that's what came to me. So that's the setup. I mean, a lot of decades of marketing in the field, all different areas of marketing, research and industrial sales. I was a product manager, and then I was an ad agency guy for 20 years. And then I resigned, like, I don't do that anymore. And then I'm back sitting in a choir loft, realizing, holy mackerel, God put the desire for impacts in our hearts. So this isn't my work. This is God's work. And now I'm back in branding for a different reason. These days, I'm helping individuals. You may own a company, but you may be a solopreneur. Individuals evolve their brands so that they can make higher level impacts and do what they love, enjoy for more decades, and step more into their divine purpose, because we're all here for a reason. But boy, this branding thing helps businesses grow. So let's get on with it.
Yeah, well, in the intro, I said that you had the 7 steps for impactful branding. So I'd love for you maybe to just even say what those 7 steps are, and then we can go into more detail on how entrepreneurs can actually implement those in their businesses. So what are those 7
I'll
steps?
get you started, but the easiest way is send me an email, and I will send you a document that has 1 page per step that speaks in my voice to you. And that document is called, let's just call it the blueprint. Okay. And just email me, rich@richbrands.org. That's simple. rich@richbrands.org, blueprint. Give me your contact information. I'll send it to you. Let's talk about the first 2 steps, which you can do with your eyes closed. How's that?
Okay, perfect.
And I already did. But I'm going to repeat myself. Ask your heart. First, what does this look like when I'm thriving at this and everything is working? That's the first step. You can do it with your eyes closed. Everything is working now. You create a weekend retreat. It's filled. You write a book. People say it changes their life. You do a free masterclass and people are waiting at the door. Whatever you do is super successful. What does it look like? And what are you doing? You get to choose. What do you see yourself doing? Are you speaking? Are you coaching? If you're coaching and coaching beginners, are you coaching one-on-one? Are you doing year-long masterminds? Like, what are you doing? Write it down. Write down. What are you doing? And the second step is ask your heart, whom do I really see impacting? Heart, give me one. And let your heart give you one. Do not let your head give it to you. Okay, seriously, because then you'll do like this. Oh, I can help the postman. Don't stop that. You know what I mean? You know what I mean, Candy? It's like, don't let your head get in the way. Ask your heart, give me one that I know I can really impact with this work I want to do, this calling I have, this business I have. And I really want to impact them and write them down on a piece of paper. How old are they? What do they look like? What makes them that person that you can really impact? And then write down the impacts you see having on them. And I mean, from the very first one, I'm not kidding here. You can do this with your eyes closed, and you have to open your eyes to write, but that's okay. And then close your eyes. But, let me explain. The first impact might be they reframe how they see something about themselves. Or they become aware of something they weren't aware of before. or maybe they see something in the world differently. But this is all mental. Eventually, it turns into different action behaviors. Like you teach them a new mindset. Then they take on a new skill set, still in their head. But then they use this skill set. That's action. Then they get different results. They use the results to take other action. They share what they do with others. They become, the trainer. It's like, and that maybe they become a world changer. What are the highest impacts you can imagine having on that person, that couple, that industry, whomever you are targeting, because of your work? You do that, and I'm telling you, the rest is easy. It's easy for me. You can get help. It's just steps. That's when we were doing $14 billion companies and saying to their CEOs and all their C-level reports, gentlemen, branding is just a process, like that pipeline you're building through the jungle in Africa that goes through multiple countries and multiple cultures and multiple churches and multiple, and you have to set it up and you have to be masters at project management. That's branding. And they're like, what? They didn't see it as a process, but it is. It's just steps. So, why should there be a book? Impact-driven branding, for people that know that they want to do more. There's more here for them and they're not done. And they want to make an impact on others through the work they do. 7 steps to ensure your brand impacts people's lives in the world, because it exists. It's not hocus pocus, and it's not some book about branding. It's steps. It's do this. It's how to. And I would love to imbue that to you. So there you go.
Right. Well, a lot of people, we start our businesses because we have a passion. Like you said, it's whether it's, we've identified that person right away, or maybe it takes a little time to identify who we really want to be serving. But like for me, someone, came to me and said, I hate, doing this part of it. And a lot of people get nervous when they're dealing with tax agencies. And then, I have my podcast because too many businesses fail, right? And they don't have all the information that they need to run successful companies. So like, I want to help the entrepreneur be successful. But so many of us start these businesses, we have plans, and then we don't necessarily know how to get that message out there. So like, do you have any tips on how to even create the message so that the ideal customer that we can serve and help and make that impact on sees it and resonates with what we're saying?
I sure do. I do it every day and all day long. It's part of the process, and it is the end result. It's actually middle results and end results. It happens throughout the process of defining and languaging a brand. Let me see if I can't, in 1 or 2 sentences, make an example. And I just got off a call with someone this morning who is a business coach for entrepreneurs and couples who are stuck, but he's also a faith coach. So he helps people step into their calling, but he helps them run their business, and his background is IT. So he's kind of a mixed bag of delight. Okay. And we're looking at his list, because he only wrote 3 types of people. You could write 100, but you don't need to. All right. But there'll be different ones. So we're looking at the impacts he said he would make. And we asked ourselves, what characteristic, what descriptor to describe your brand must you get credit for to make that impact on that person? Well, one of his was empathetic listening. And when we prioritized all the ones we came up with, empathetic listening was in the top 5. Imagine if you had a prioritized list of the characteristics. I mean, let's talk about some, technologically, and you're bookkeepingly sound. How's that? It's like balance books. I love what you do, by the way. I learned bookkeeping as a 14-year-old because I was running businesses. My dad allowed me to take a course. So it's like, I love debit, credit. It's in my blood, but I don't do it, but I love it. And I love what you stand for. So what might some of those sound like? Caringly strategic, Well, what does that mean? Well, it means what goes under it. In what ways must you be caringly strategic? And we literally write the musts.
Mhm.
So a brand might need to get credit for being caringly strategic in these 3 ways. When that's down
Mhm.
on paper, you have the culture, the brand. You have the characteristics you must get credit for. When it
Mhm.
comes time to putting it to the next level, the next step is what categories of expertise must you be known for? Well, you could say women's health, but you could say helping women release the weight of unhealthy life. So it's intriguing. It has a baked in, intangible brand promise to it. And it sets you apart because nobody else says that.
Mhm.
Nobody's going to say, oh, no, another one of those.
Mhm.
And the purpose of branding, you know, I skipped the elephant in the room. May I define what a brand is in one sentence
Mhm.
so everyone who's listening to
Please.
this is clear forever? I mean, do the clarity summit. Here's clarity for you today. Write this down. And I'm not kidding. Your brand is a perception. Write that down. My brand is a perception. Second sentence, but it's not your perception. So you can tell me
Mm.
about your brand all day long. It doesn't matter what you say. The perception that you get to shape is in the mind of your person or audience that you want most to impact. It's
Mhm.
their perception that is your brand. And
Mhm.
branding, all those things we get to do, the purpose is shaping a consistent perception in the minds of those whose lives or businesses we most want to impact, and doing it in a way that moves us strategically in a direction we know we want to go
Mhm.
or need to go to fulfill the impacts that we see and the reason we believe we're here. It's all
Mhm.
strategic, but it all lines up. And so, how do you get credit? What do you say? What kind of content? Because I do a 1-day workshop and we have a workbook that I ship to people beforehand. I like, to write. So I ship them a workbook. And, we also give them the digital versions too, because it's a lot faster. There's a list of the top 25 reasons to define and language your brand. And what they are things, I didn't make them up. The things I've heard, and ma'am, I work with big companies, $14 billion of my largest company client, public company, and a bunch of private companies, several $100 million software companies. Today, I work only with individuals. Literally, I've been doing this individual thing for the last 8.5 years. Individuals who know they are not done, who want to
Mhm.
make an impact or bigger impact. They haven't written their legacy book yet. They should be doing signature speeches. They should be sharing their wisdom. And they're still in their pigeonhole of what they're known for, but they know there's more, but they don't know how to take it to another level. It begins with the same process that you listening to this right now get to do. What are the impacts I clearly see making on whom?
Mhm.
And from that, you develop what you must get credit for to make those impacts. So if there's a type, and this very specific, if there's a category of expertise, some, open heart surgery with micro tools, it's like the woman speaking at the Next Level Business Conference next year is an expert at bookkeeping that takes your business, to millions. It's like, you got to name the expertise
Mhm.
so that you are the one and nobody else says it. The question is,
Mhm.
what's in there? What kind of expertise must you get credit for you to make your impacts first? And then there'll be another one, and then there'll be another one. And those expertises evolve the way your brand is perceived so that you become perceived as capable of making the highest level impacts that you're here to make.
Mhm.
That's what this is about. It's all strategic.
Right. Well, when you were talking earlier too, with the example of the story that you shared too, and you had said like empathetic listening, right?
Yeah.
Or like caring strategy, which to me is invoking like emotion in there too. It's not just, we're a good listener or things like that too. So do you feel that is important when you're putting down those, things that are important for your brand to actually have something that is making you feel more like there's that emotion attached to it so that the person who hears what you're saying is going to feel that?
Well, that's a very good question. Here's a very, easy to digest answer. There are kind of 4 drawers that we put those characteristics in just to organize them in some way. First is heart. You know how they say they don't care what you know until they know you care? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What that reminds us is that people can feel heart character. They can feel transparency. They can feel disingenuousness, too. So it's kind of like
Mm-hmm.
the other side of the coin of transparency. They can feel trustworthiness or trustability in the language you use. They can feel, on the other hand, exaggeration and fluff. They
Mm-hmm.
can feel that you care or that you don't care just by your language. You can speak aloofly and won't even connect with them, or you can listen and give their language back to them and literally listen for their heart. And they can tell that before they even know how smart you are or what you're
Mm-hmm.
really good at. So there's heart, then there's skills. If you're good at strategic planning, okay, then there's results. So rapid business growth or building a teams, building a player teams that transform a business. You know, that's a process, and it starts with how to identify the people that share our vision, and it goes through hiring and all that process, and then the train, and then they become a team. It's like so, but that's a result. And then
Mm-hmm.
there's the higher level characteristics that you can't really get credit for on first impression. So you heard me talk about getting credit on first impression.
Mm-hmm.
uh, Candy's question is, do you think it's important to touch the emotion? Well, it's important to choose 1 or 2 of those heart characteristics that you must get credit for to make the impacts on the people you want to make, and let them lead
Mm-hmm.
so that people feel them first, because they'll become attractants and magnet, and they're real, they're authentic to you. You're not making this up. Do not make this stuff up. Okay, it has to come from
Right.
your heart. That's why it works
Right.
so well. This is impact driven. you know I see whom I want to impact. What characteristics must you get credit for to impact them? Hey, what kind of categories of expertise must you get credit for to make those impacts faster? Titles and subtitles of content that get us credit for the category of expertise. It's all impact driven. It's a process. It's just
Mm-hmm.
steps. And so
Mm-hmm.
first you hook their heart, you trigger their emotion, you show them a result that they want. You project the result. You speak knowing that your messaging hierarchy is important to get you credit for your top 3 characteristics and your top 2 categories of expertise, because those message hierarchy messages speak from a position of knowingness.
Mm-hmm.
And when you say them, people know that you know, and
Mm-hmm.
it resonates with them. They feel it. There's gravitas to the way you matter of factly said when you let in. Now, I have a client is the voice of generational wisdom. 82 years old. He's written 23 books. The voice of generational wisdom. The name of his brand is he used to pitch for the New York Yankees. Is Lou Vickery. He's now a paid speaker, and the name of his brand is A Wise Word, Activating Your Best Life. Come on, Lou, come on up here and give us a wise word. And he 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 gets to matter of factly say things. Well, and he's from Alabama. So he says, well, Rich, you have to realize that heeding generational wisdom in you helps take your life to new levels. And you're like, man, just the way he says it, you know he knows it.
Right.
That's what message hierarchy is. It's like they're statements from knowingness, and you get to do that for you. If you're a solopreneur or you're running a business with 50 employees, you get to do that to shape that consistent perception in the minds of your target audiences that you most want to impact. We all get to do that. Defining and language in the beginning, you use it over and over again. Consistency across the board and unique language that transfers energy makes a brand come alive. And 2 other things, and you've got to have the 4 or your brand will fall flat. And if you've done something for 30 years and you want to take it higher, you have to evolve the perception from what you were perceived as before to the way you must be perceived, capable of making those higher level impacts. So,
Right.
yeah.
So what if you have, been in business for quite a while and, you have built a reputation and maybe your brand isn't out there exactly, how you want, and you can take, these ideas that you're sharing and fine tune it and get it out there. But what if it's someone maybe who's just getting started in business? They don't really even have a reputation yet. Are these keys the same and they're just putting this together and trying to get the word out there? Or there's some different strategies that they would use versus someone who's been in business for a while or has built up a reputation? Like, what would be the difference, maybe, is my question.
It's an excellent question. The answer is, if you're at the very beginning, you are so lucky because then you don't have to evolve. It's like, I never had that option at the agency. These companies were established. I mean, $14 billion. The first project was research, assessing what everybody felt about the brand. It's like, you have to start what they think about themselves, and then you go out and you find out what everybody outside the company thinks, and you compare them, and they're not the same. And then you get to work. You know what I mean? So you're lucky because you get to start fresh. And is the process the same? It is. So remember, I'll just, many times when I'm interviewed, I think this is my 130th podcast interview in the last year and a half, people say, do you have a final thought? And I'll always say, speak from your heart. So I'm going to say that to you because you're listening to this right now, and it doesn't sound businessy, and it doesn't sound like a tip or a trick. It's a life thing. If you're new, ask your heart, what brings you joy? And do that. And then say, whom do I really want to serve in doing that brings me joy? And do's the process. Brands evolve. People evolve. The process absorbs it. Once you know the process, you just know how to evolve it. When something happens in the marketplace, or something happens with a competitor, or something happens in your heart, or you gain a new skill or a new credential, or you have a new desire to, your business is thriving and you want to be a philanthropist, it all fits. You can get credit for impacts that are outside of your business. It's this steps are built for it. It's okay. If you want to build water wells in faraway countries, or go speak at a major university or something, and it all fits. So yes, it's the same. And an example, Steven Spielberg. I have 2 Eagle Scout sons, and when a boy is becoming an Eagle Scout, and I guess girls can do that now too, but when a boy is becoming an Eagle Scout back in my day, you write letters to people that were famous Eagle Scouts, and say, my son is becoming an Eagle Scout, or a boy in my troop is becoming an Eagle Scout. We'd appreciate a letter, and they will send a letter. So Steven Spielberg sends a letter, and it says, when I was in Boy Scouts, I was looking at all the merit badges, and some of them didn't, turn me on at all. And then I saw filmmaking, and I thought, Hmm.
Hmm.
Okay. So let that inkling, let that yearning, play it out. You know, turn it into something. You might have started down a path of something that brings you joy. If you lose track of time at what you're doing, that's one of God's ways of saying it's what you're supposed to be doing. So use your heart. If you
Mhm.
allow your head or someone else, oh, you ought to go to New York and go job. You're smart. You should go to, Wall Street. Well, if that's not you, what are you doing?
Right. That would
We
be a
all are,
waste.
we all are here to make the
Mhm.
most significant impacts on those whose lives we touch. I mean, the book I read every morning says, love your neighbor as yourself. It's about love. We're here for two reasons: share love and praise God. Oh, this is not a sermon, but if we don't get those two right, we got to go back to number one. Sarah and I, we're back at share love. Okay. You find your way to share love,
Mhm.
teaching, helping, speaking, listening, being kind, being athletic, whatever your way is, and do it in ways, turn it into ways that touch others' lives too,
Mhm.
and live in joy for decades. I wish this for you. The remarkable thing about my journey is, I mean, went through all these things that I'd done. The agency was a stressful job. I loved it. I was kind of addicted to it. It was stressful. I felt the stress. These days, I don't feel stress at all. It doesn't feel like work. And yesterday, I believe I had 9 client sessions. I was working until my last client was in Florida, and he was at 10 o'clock at night. So it was at my
Hmm.
7. We worked till my 8:30, his 11:30. It doesn't feel like work. It feels like love. And I wish that for you, to turn what you are doing into something that brings you joy, because you're bringing other people joy. Come
Mhm.
on now. Come on now.
Perfect.
Like, you didn't think you'd get that on a podcast, but I'm telling you, you can take that to the bank and you can take it to heaven with you. So it's like, why, yeah. And it's just steps. The branding thing, don't let the concept of branding confuse you or intimidate you. And don't let people tell you you need a micro niche or whatever the hell they're doing to entrance you. It's just steps.
Yeah.
And I've been teaching them for a long time. And I'm not going anywhere. You know, Candy, you said you were going to ask me, how can people get in touch with me? People say, like,
Yeah.
wow, you've been doing this for what? 48 years. You should be on a beach or on a yacht. You know where I am? I'm on Zoom. You literally can go to richbrands.org and it will say above the fold on the homepage, deep experience you can count on, straight talk you can trust. And it says, talk to Rich for 30 minutes for free. I'm on Zoom. Take
Nice.
advantage of it. Tell me about
Mhm.
you. You realize in 30 minutes, literally, I can connect with your heart, listening to the way you see impact, hear your questions. It's not my first rodeo. I would love to talk to you for free. I would. I do it all day long. Why? Because I get to. What kind of a branding guy is that? That's me. There you go. Now, you can also email me, rich@richbrands.org, and ask for a blueprint. I'll send you the blueprint. We're connected. We'll put you on the list. We'll invite you to the things we do. I do a free masterclass several times a month. I do a half day called Branding You with Impact every month. It's very inexpensive, and it will change your head forever about what a brand is and what it means to define and language a brand, what happens when you do and what happens when you don't. And then there's workshops, and then there's Brand Accelerator Mastery, where we do all of these 7 steps in a 3-month period, and you are completely, deeply clear and have language that can take you to your next levels and that you'll use forever. And you have all those things that make a brand come alive uniquely in 3 months. People don't know that exists. they think it's a pot shot. It's not. It's a process. And that's, if there's any aha moment, and oh my God, I'm so glad I listened to this podcast. That's it.
Mhm.
And
Well,
yeah,
thank you for sharing that. I do always ask, for the offer and the contact information. So thank you for sharing that.
you're
And
welcome.
I just really appreciate your taking the time to share your expertise and educate the listener on like what they can be doing to have brands that make a major impact on, their community or the world, at large, because that was important. So thank
And
you.
it can be as big or small as it doesn't matter the size. It doesn't matter. I'm going to do a
Mhm.
commercial for you, Kenny. What you do, bookkeeping is deeply important. Creating a way, it's like drawers, filing to find things where you need to find them. Money's like that too. You have to create the drawers. You have to write a chart of accounts or let somebody else do it for you. Here's how we keep track of the money. Here's the expenses. Here's get that done first thing. If you know how to do it, get somebody who really knows how, like Candy, to do it for you. Praise God, get it done early. And then, later it turns into things like, well, which general journal you're using and what's your tech stack and all. That's a whole different realm. You have to have that for your business to reach millions, but you've got to have really good bookkeeping from the beginning. You have no idea what your business is doing if you don't have that. So pay attention to what Candy sells and buy it.
Thank you
How's
for
that?
that. I
You're
appreciate
welcome.
that. So, well, and I want to thank the listener too for tuning in. So, if you found this topic helpful and you want additional information, note that we also are going to have some exclusive content in the show notes. So, Rich, one final question. What common branding mistakes do you see entrepreneurs making, and how can they avoid these pitfalls to create a brand that truly comes alive and attracts their desired audience?
I have a list of 17, but I'll mention two. One is the most common thing that hurts you that nobody realized does is hiring a third-party marketer who's not you
Mm.
to get some leads. So they know words or things, or we know what works, and they do what works. And what they do, and you don't give them a really well-defined brand guideline and language. They just are on their own.
Mm-hmm.
That's a mistake because they'll create things that are not congruent with you or with your brand. And when they do, it creates confusion, misinformation. You don't get credit for what makes you outstanding. And those are 3 of the 6 bad consequences that you get when you don't define language brands. So watch out. Well, we just get some leads. We don't have time for the branding. We just need leads and we'll do the branding later. Mistake.
Mm-mm.
That's number 1. Number 2, let's talk about AI. In one sentence, when you have the results, well, 2 sentences because I have to do a warning. When you have the results from the AI work you've done, ask, give me, write me 10 emails in the style of whatever, get me whatever you've done. And it's sitting in front of you. Do not use it exactly as the AI gave it to you. Edit it so that it is unique to your brand. Put your unique language, your voice, your heart, your top 3, top 5 characteristics, your unique categories of expertise. Get those in there. Don't just use the AI stuff or you'll look like everybody else. People think, oh, AI, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Don't, please, you must be unique. You must answer the question, why you? And you can't do that with language everybody else uses. And the
Mm-hmm.
warning is make sure you're using an AI engine, if you will, that has a wall around it that doesn't feed what you give it to the public. So if a client of mine has spent a ton of money and time, even if it's, all in a 3-month period, which we do in our Brand Accelerator Mastery Program, to have all the unique language of the brand, and it's already, and they feed that into an AI engine to do some stuff, and that AI engine doesn't have a wall around, it's not private, it's just a gathering, and now it feeds it to everybody else. They've just given
Right.
away their intellectual property. So
Mm-hmm.
be careful that the AI engine you're using is protected, that protects you. And I would just I would just say, do not feed your unique language into any AI. Let
Mhm.
it give you what it's going to give you, and then you edit it to make sure it has your unique language in it.
Right.
Those
Great
are the
point.
two things.
Thank
Hugely,
you.
hugely common and unthinking acts by people who are, well, we're just trying, we're seeing how AI works. Yeah, right. Yeah, there's lots of attorneys who will tell you the legal aspects of AI. You can get into trouble, using stuff that you think, oh, it was in there and it's trademarked.
Right.
And it's like, yeah, you can get in trouble. So you need to know what you're doing. So 48 years. And I'm going to be doing this a lot longer. Don't get me talking. I'll talk for weeks on any aspect of marketing or branding. So, yeah, Candy, this has been a delight. I wish everyone who's listening to this a blessed execution of defining and languaging the brand they will become. And remember, today is the day to define the brand you will become. Please remember that.
Thank you for tuning in today. Would you please share this episode with those you know and leave a review on your favorite platform? And if you find our show informative, would you consider being a financial sponsor to help me continue my mission to educate business owners? A link is located in the episode description, and no amount is too small. I'd really appreciate your support. If you are interested in connecting with our guest and receiving the offer they had to share, a link to our resource page is in the show notes. Finally, if you have any bookkeeping or payroll needs, reach out to us at 310-534-5577 or contact@abandp.com. My team and I are eager to assist you. Until next time, have a great day.
Thank you for listening to Biz Help for You. Please join your host, Candy Messer, again next time. Have a terrific day.